Hello, today we are going to do something called Scoping Out with Siddharth from the class of 23 MBA EX. I am C. Over to you, Siddharth. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself?
I came into MBAX with near enough 10 years of experience working at Tata Technologies in the UK. Tata Technologies is an engineering service provider in the automotive, aerospace, and IHM industries.
Okay.
I worked only in the automotive department, in a department called Engineering Research and Development.
Okay.
So we develop and deliver full vehicle programs for OEMs. My job has changed naturally over the last 10 years, but at the end of it, I was a project leader delivering full turnkey programs for our clients.
Okay.
So initially, I started with Jaguar Land Rover. We used to take basically the car straight out of the design studio where it was only a sketch, went into feasibility studies, surfacing, then into engineering, supplier nominations, and finally going into the manufacturing plants to actually get the car built to the right quality and at the right time.
Okay.
And finally going into delivering cars to customers. So two of my proudest moments actually of my life are when I was standing on the stage at the press events of the Discovery Sport and the Range Rover Evoque in 2015 and 19 respectively. Just those two moments paid off 3 years each of work that was 12-hour shifts, sometimes 14 hours, 7 hours, 7 days a week. And it was a very fulfilling experience, even though it probably took some years off the end of my life. The second part of my role at the end of it was business development.
Okay.
So I helped scope or rather pitch for projects for our department. Most of it happened with the captive customer, Jaguar Land Rover,
Okay.
where they gave us a scope, they gave us RFQs, and we had to then decide how much resource we would take, how long it would take, and what kind of skills we required, based on obviously product specifications that they gave us. There were times when they were a little bit vague, or they needed to be vague to try and get us to help them develop their next model.
Okay.
And that was probably some of the most challenging bits, because it was interesting seeing products develop from literally nothing and shaping the car that's on the road today from before it even existed.
Wow.
So just expanding onto that a little bit, at the end I was also working on, there were some EV startups that came to Tata Technologies for quotes. Those were a little bit more involved, and I played a part in actually scoping the engineering side of it. So whereas Jaguar Land Rover gave us a car and said, this is what we want you to build, with the EVs it was more of an idea, can you build a car out of this? As in, there wasn't even a sketch, there wasn't even a proper definition of what kind of segment they want to go into, what kind of customer they wanted. They just knew that they had a few deliverables, like it must have so much range, it must be an SUV, and it must seat 5 people. So I didn't end up working with any of the EV companies, but I certainly played a part in scoping out and then quoting for those projects.
Oh, this is interesting. Siddharth, you're talking about EV.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you see the EV market in India pan out?
So I'm actually very bullish on the EV market in India. We've already got Tata Motors leading the way in the EV market. With the Nexon and the Tigor EVs. You see them on the road all the time now, which is a really refreshing thing to see. You also have the MG and Hyundai players in the market. But the more important and more exciting thing for me is the amount of EV scooters we already have. So there's a mix in the market of OEMs like TVS and Hero who are actually coming out with their EV scooters now and have over the last year. But also there are startups that are looking really exciting. There was Jitendra Scooters that started it all.
Okay.
There's Ola Electric that have just recently launched their scooters. There's Ather who are raising millions and doing some amazing things in the scooter industry. I think it will be very, very interesting to see where the market goes over the next few years. There are obviously some issues with the market, but I'm sure that our country will get over them.
Wow, he's optimistic. Siddharth, what is the logic for the optimism? Is it innovation? And then what are the innovations that are added?
Like I said, it's a really exciting time in India for the EV market. Some of the surprising things I've seen were the way companies have chosen to solve some of the major issues for EV adoption.
Okay.
One of the biggest problems, obviously, is a charger network. Now, the government of India, along with some MNCs, including Tata Power, who are playing a big role, are trying to improve the charger network all over the country. But I think we're a way away before we can drive from Bombay to Delhi in an EV car, or even east to west. But if you think about day-to-day use, even now, very few people have chargers in their stilt parking in their buildings or even in their homes. It's that infrastructure doesn't really exist unless, of course, you own your own bungalow and you can do whatever you want, which is not the mass market.
Okay.
How do you fix that? So one of the scooter companies actually designed a battery that you can take out of the scooter, take home and plug into your normal wall socket. Genius idea, which I don't think anybody else has thought of before. And what's that's doing is it's allowing your everyday common man who rides a scooter to work and back to be able to move into the EV market, right? So not only did they help the EVs grow, they grew the market and for the people who think they can actually go into this segment. It's no longer just a luxury vehicle, it's also something that your common man can use. Secondly, what this then does is you get your Zomato and Swiggy riders, your last mile riders with Dunzo, with your, the startup industry, the new unicorns that are trying to get things to you within 8 minutes. The amount of emissions they were responsible for has been a concern for India and its 2030 climate goals. Now suddenly you've got a company called Shadowfax. They're a last mile delivery expert. They've tied up with Zomato and Swiggy and are actually offering their riders higher rates if they are riding EVs.
Okay.
One big example is Yulu bikes that you see on the road quite a lot. There are these bikes that you can just rent for short term.
Yeah.
Shadowfax are taking full use of it. It comes with its pitfalls because obviously at the end of the day all of these companies need to be profitable and it hits their bottom line. But I think it's really a good step in the right direction, and with scale there's definitely profitability there to expand the market. The second thing that you're seeing again in the charger market is you have companies like Adani Green and Tata Power tying up now with builders. So when buildings are being planned and designed and built, they're putting the EV charging infrastructure into these new buildings. So someone buying a new flat in a new development in the next year or two should by all means have an EV charger they can use every day. Imagine the amount of adoption we'll have going forward. It's an amazing opportunity for the Indian EV market.
Wow. On this note, Siddharth, what other industries will EV growth impact in India or elsewhere?
So, the automotive sector, as we all know, is something that has, I'd like to say, tentacles that reach far and wide. For example, with more and more players coming into the EV market, think about the first thing your car or scooter is made of, is metal. You have sheet metal providers, suppliers all over the country stamping parts that will now be able to improve their operations because of the higher demand. This will then also drive your Mercedes, your BMW, your big players to come in and start manufacturing the EVs here. On top of that, you've got Amara Raja Battery, you've got Exide, who are really doing a lot of work along with Tata Chemical to improve battery technology. We are currently capped on range because as the technology gets better, it will only get better, but there's always a cap. It's like we had issues with computer memory before. Once you get that, because of the amount of money going into these technologies, you will have your multinational players coming in, creating greenfield units in India to build, and that will give us a whole new jolt to the economy. Coming to other industries, you've got plastic molding companies that are here. You've got, obviously I've said sheet metal already. You've got textile manufacturers that will be doing textiles for seats. Sustainable materials is a massive thing that's going on in the industry right now. People are trying to move away from leather because of the high carbon emissions and high methane emissions with leather, and they're trying to go into recycled plastic materials to put on your seats, which there's a lot of research going on with companies in India to try and make these materials better.
Wow, Siddharth, Any last thought that you want to share with the viewers?
So some of the issues obviously are waste. Batteries, while being very good for the environment, can also be, once you've got to the end of life of a battery, it can be really harmful because the chemicals are not good for the environment in theory, right? You've got currently, according to BCG, about 32 million cars on the road all over the world, out of which all of which have batteries in them of some form. And I don't mean your little car battery, I mean they're electrified in terms of hybrid cars or plug-in or fully battery electric vehicles. According to their report, 8 million of those cars, 25%, are already at the end of life in terms of battery.
Okay.
Add to that, the global EV market will grow approximately 25% year on year all the way up to 2030. Suddenly you get into a crisis of battery waste. That's where second life applications for batteries come in. It's something that I'm again very excited about. There are companies now trying to use a store of energy is something that's valuable anywhere in the world.
Okay.
Imagine a EV battery being used as an inverter for in rural areas. The problem with this is at the moment it's not profitable. There is no way to gain profit doing this in today's market, and there's lots of companies that have tried. However, with economies of scale, again BCG try and say that with economies of scale there are things that they see which we can use these batteries for, and then gain profits out of that. So I'm looking forward to some startups coming up in that space as well. I think it'll be an exciting time for EVs, for consultants and for venture capitalists in the area. And I'm pretty sure that the industry is here to stay, and India is going to be a big player in the whole global scenario.
Thank you. This is Siddharth from class of 23 MBA EX IMC. Looking forward to EV, consulting, venture capitalists and Siddharth in future.
Thanks very much,
you.
ma'am. Thank you.